Sky Sports.
Not long to go until the Masters gets underway at Augusta National. Rory McIlroy back as the defending champion after last year's dramatic playoff victory over Justin Rose, where he completed the career Grand Slam. Let's look ahead to that and talk all things golf in the company of the former Ryder Cup player Andrew Coulter. Andrew, good afternoon. Let's start with Tiger Woods, shall we? I know you spoke on Sky Sports News at the weekend soon after his arrest for driving under the influence. It feels churlish talking about it, but there's no way he can play the Masters, is there?
Well, one thing I have known about Tiger Woods over the years is that you never discount him from doing absolutely anything. Obviously, he'd be fairly shook up about this. The important thing is that nobody was hurt during this incident, and hopefully people are looking after him the way he needs. But I wouldn't necessarily say that he won't be. But he's got his own other physical problems, before this, and dealing with even getting himself round a place like Augusta National because of all the injuries that he's had, and because of the type of golf course it is and so hilly it is. It might prove just too much for him.
That was what I felt watching him play there in recent years, Andrew, that you almost felt sympathy for him, that he clearly is a man in pain. That limp almost becomes more and more pronounced as the day goes on, and you almost don't want to see a great champion struggling like that.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, it was very, very cold, unusually cold there at Augusta, and he was out on the golf course, stuck in the worst of it, cold and wet, waterproof, so on. It was raining, and it looked like his body had just almost completely seized up. And yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? It's like watching, the old boxing champions, the legends of old, returning to the ring, when really their body has just been through absolutely everything. I mean, those are beautiful pictures that we're seeing on the television. I don't think really we're ever going to see that again. But let's be fair to him. Everybody's allowed to get old.
And that's more the point, isn't it? That you've played against him. You've looked in the white of his eyes in the singles game, and you know what makes him a great champion. But almost someone's greatest strength becomes their greatest weakness, in the sense that I suspect, somewhere in his mind, he believes another great day like that is still possible, and he can still do it.
Yeah, I think he does. And I also think a lot of people are hanging on thinking like that as well. But, the man's into his 40s now. He's seen it all. He's done it all. Yes, he has that internally because he's always had that. He's been brought up to be just a fierce competitor. But, time waits for nobody. And you factor in a lot of the operations, you factor in everything he's had to deal with, you factor in, unfortunately, that first incident with the car when he smashed up his ankle, and you start to look at the end of the day, this guy is mortal, and I'd be surprised really if physically he's up to it.
Let's talk about the defending champion, shall we? Rory McIlroy. I remember him saying in his press conference at the end of the last year, what are you all going to talk about next year? Well, still Rory McIlroy, I imagine. But can he swing a little freer and enjoy it a little bit more now he's finally got that green jacket?
I think so, Rob. But we've been thinking about that for a little while. Don't forget, he tweaked his back a couple of weeks ago at Bay Hill. But by the time he pegged it up at the Players, he said he was fine, but just the prep hadn't been great. So the preparation hasn't been great. Let's not forget that last year he'd won a couple of times by the time he'd got to Augusta. So his game was absolutely in tip-top shape. It's not where he wants it to be at the moment. But he's also, I would imagine, in his mind, only really sort of bothered about these major championships. And, of course, this being the first of the year, and him being the defending champion, although there's a tremendous amount of obligations that go along with that, it might just inspire him to pull out some of the top quality golf again. Wouldn't that be great?
Talking of players who maybe aren't in tip-top shape, Scotty Scheffler, whose bad form is everyone else's great form, let's be honest. But where do you think Scotty is heading into Augusta?
Yeah, well, really, really interesting. Well, of course, him and Meredith are expecting their second child. He had to withdraw from last week's event due to the imminent birth. I'm not sure that the second child has come into the world yet, so I don't know where really he is with that. But yeah, you talk about his game. By his incredibly high standards, he's been a little bit off the pace this year. He's slow out of the blocks, struggling a little bit in the first round and having to play catch up. And as talented as he is, that's going to be, a big gift to the rest of the field. I'm not sure that Scotty can afford, even with his brilliance, I'm not sure he can afford that sluggish start. So he'll have to try and find something that come out of those blocks a little bit faster next week.
Let's talk about another player who'll be teeing it up at Augusta, which is Gary Woodland. It's a great story, this one in Houston last week. Had surgery to remove a brain tumour, has PTSD as well. There's a quote where he says, "There are days when it's tough, crying in the scoring trailer, running to my car just to hide. I don't want to live that way anymore." I mean, no one could fail to be overjoyed to see Gary win in Houston.
Yeah, that was an incredibly emotional win. And just to try and add a little bit more context to it, where the lesions were in his brain were parts of the brain that affect fear. I mean, it sounds ridiculous when you look at the television and a sports star is going through these emotions, PTSD. We use those terms for other things, but he had the part of his brain had to be operated on that allowed him to deal with fear, and neurologically that's had a massive impact on him. What he did on Sunday there, holding himself together with all that expectation and the fear that he has gone through over the amount of time, and the fact that he not won for 6 years was enormous. It was a remarkable feat of human achievement, and as you could see, there was an awful lot of people that were very emotional about that performance.
Gary, obviously a former US Open champion, all of the majors live on Sky Sports, including the Open at Royal Birkdale a little bit later in the year. How big is that for Merseyside and for aspiring young golfers in the area?
It's huge, Rob. It's huge. There's been an uptick of participation in this event by about 50% since 2019. It's just incredible when you think about it. Of course, you look at the various platforms that are out there and youngsters coming to that. You look obviously of what Sky the golf does at Saturday at the Open, where they opened things up to a much younger audience there. You also look at the influencers that are out there and the access that the kids have got to that has certainly made golf a lot more appealing for a lot of people. But you talk about the economic benefits. I mean, the last time they were saying it's like £190 million comes into the local economy when an Open Championship is played. And that's incredible for everybody. Yes, the locals have got to do with a few more people in their shops, one or two fewer parking spaces to go about their everyday chores, but I'm sure they can put up with that for 1 week of the 52 in a year, and it's a tremendous boost for the economy. But they've also got this wonderful immersive experience going on this year with the Soundscape, which has been created by the Open, which is just the sounds and the feels and the vibes of the crackling energy have all been put together into this sort of audio file that you can access over there at Spotify. It Sounds of the Open, and that's just incredible. You get the opportunity to feel what it's like by listening to these sounds as you're walking inside the ropes of an Open Championship. It's a wonderful little thing that they've put together.
Yeah, and if my memories of Hoylake or anything to go by, the locals are very welcoming indeed, wherever you go. Andrew, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this afternoon. Chat soon.